like a wasted space. You're original, cannot be replaced.
The music world is one that is always full of stars. But if we're being honest here, very few of them look, sound, or act like Katy Perry. She took the music world by storm and is still doing that to this day. But her journey is not exactly one that you would expect. So allow us to show you Katy Perry, then and now. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. The early days of Katy Perry. Let's start off with the beginning of her story. Mainly because it's most definitely not what people expect when they go and talk about Katy Perry. Trust us. For example, do you know her real name? Catherine Elizabeth Hudson was born on October 25, 1984 in Santa Barbara, California, to Pentecostal pastors Mary Christine and Maurice Keith Hudson. Yes, you heard that right. Katy Perry was born to two pastors. That tells you something, doesn't it? From ages 3 to 11, Perry often moved across the country as her parents set up churches, before settling again in Santa Barbara.
The atmosphere I grew up in was 100% Christian.
I started singing in church. I never really had another plan.
Growing up, she attended religious schools and camps, which makes sense given how certain religious families can be. Her family struggled financially, sometimes using food stamps and eating food from the food bank, which also fed the congregation at Perry's parents' church. So her early days were not the easiest for sure. Wanting to be like her sister Angela, Perry began singing by practicing with her sister's cassette tapes. She performed the tracks in front of their parents, who let her take vocal lessons as Angela was at the time. She began training at age 9 and was incorporated into her parents' ministry, singing in the church from ages 9 to 17. She started to write her own songs, trying to be more like a California girl in various ways and play a certain part, and that would lead her to her first major attempt at the music world. Debut in music. After getting her GED and trying out music, she was eventually heard by some people in Nashville, who brought her into the fold of music writing before eventually getting signed by Red Hill Records. But here's where a certain twist comes in, because she didn't go straight into the music we all know her for. Rather, because of her upbringing and what she had been exposed to music-wise, she tried to be a contemporary Christian artist. And her first album, Katy Hudson, was just that. And while it honestly did get positive reviews from critics, it sold just 200 copies. Yeah, that wasn't very good. Plus, her record label died out, so that left her with some changes that needed to be made. She turned to more secular music and, upon moving to Los Angeles, went by the name Katy Perry, her mother's maiden name, and she did it so that she didn't get confused with actress Katy Hudson. And she did it so that she wouldn't get confused with actress Kate Hudson. Go figure. After some starts and stops, she was signed by Columbia Records, the same label that signed Jessica Simpson in her early days, among others of course, and started work with them on her next debut album, until they dropped her and she went independent. Breakthrough. Because after leaving Columbia, one of the head executives of the brand sent her demo to Virgin Records. And the head of that brand, Jason Flom, could tell immediately that she would be a star after some fine-tuning, and thus signed her in 2007 to Capitol Records. The label arranged for her to work with Dr. Luke to add an undeniable smash to her existing material. Perry and Dr. Luke co-wrote the songs I Kissed a Girl and Hot and Cold for her second album, One of the Boys. A campaign was started with the November 2007 release of the video to You're So Gay, a song aimed at introducing her to the music market. It worked, as it started to get attention, including Madonna coming into a radio show and stating that this was her favorite song right now. Then, when I Kissed a Girl came out, not only did radio stations get a lot of positive calls about it, it rocketed up to the top of the Billboard Top 100 charts. Hot and Cold did well too, reaching number 3 on the charts. And despite mixed reviews, her other debut album, One of the Boys, went on to sell 7 million copies worldwide. Yep, she went from 200 sold to 7 million in one album. Not bad, huh? Booming in her career. After going on tour and getting a bunch of awards and doing collaborations with musicians like Timbaland and others, Katy Perry really started to grow into her own. Perry released California Girls, featuring Snoop Dogg, on May 7, 2010. The song was the lead single from her third studio album, Teenage Dream, and reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in June. The album would go on to sell 6 million albums worldwide. Less than her debut as Katy Perry, but still incredibly successful. She also won a Juno Award for that album. In terms of tracks, she had 5 #1 songs from that album, including California Girls, Teenage Dream, Firework, E.T., and Last Friday Night, TGIF, some of which, like Firework, are songs most associated with Perry in terms of her all-time great tracks. She also set a new record by becoming the first artist to spend 69 consecutive weeks in the top 10 of the Hot 100. That's impressive no matter how you look at it. Aside from her music career taking off, her role in pop culture started to boom as well. She started appearing in shows like The Simpsons and How I Met Your Mother, as well as being the voice of Smurfette in the Smurfs live-action films. As if that wasn't enough, Perry began to venture into business when she endorsed her first fragrance, Purr, in November 2010. Her second fragrance, Meow, was released in December 2011. You'd think she couldn't go any higher, but this is Katy Perry. She can always go higher. Super Bowl halftime show. After a marriage to Russell Brand, let's not talk about this. Positive thoughts for Katy Perry. She went and made her 4th album, Prism, which was initially supposed to be a darker tone, but after a look at herself, she changed it, and one of her most famous songs ever came from that album with Roar. And the album sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Think about that. More people watched the halftime show than the actual football game. And the football game was good. You might also recall that this was the halftime show that created the left shark meme. You're welcome. American Idol and beyond. By the time 2017 came around, Katy Perry was still one of the top draws in the music world and beyond, and her status as a pop culture icon was undeniable. So much so that not only did she appear as herself in movies, but she was hired by ABC to be one of the main judges of the revival of American Idol, which was a major hit, and it continues to this day despite the pandemic hurting things. She would eventually go on to date and have a child with Hollywood actor Orlando Bloom, even naming her next album Smile after her daughter. And as if all of that wasn't enough for you, this very year, not very long ago in fact, Katy Perry announced that she was making a song in collaboration with the Pokémon 25th anniversary called Electric. The song and music video released, and it featured her singing while being accompanied by her good friend Pikachu. Welcome to our world. The legacy of Katy Perry. While Katy Perry is still on top of the world in various ways, it is important to look at her career as a whole and ask how she has done. And in short, she's done great. She started music in one style and failed, pivoted, and became a global sensation. Just about everyone out there knows who Katy Perry is because of her music. Just about everyone out there knows who Katy Perry is because of her music, outfits, and styles. She's connected with countless millions of fans and has made the music world better in her own way. She's done good, and that's a legacy to be proud of. What do you personally think is the best thing that Katy Perry has ever done? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.